problematic in a couple subdivisions. And I don't know if that's something we need to fix internally, or if that's something that you guys have standards for, or if you just, as long as it looks like it connects, it's done. Like, I don't know how that is supposed to work.
Yeah, unless a developer comes to us and tells us what to do, and we have no idea until, probably until after it's going through you guys, and usually come to us after the fact. I think obviously you have a checklist of criteria that you require on a subdivision, right?
So the problem is you guys sign off on them, but we are the ones who are doing review too. So does it need to meet our standard, or do you guys have a standard that it's adhered to? Because what's happened is you've signed off on it with no streetlights. We get it back. There's no streetlights. The developer comes to us and says, "Hey, Rocky Mountain Power signed off on these. There is no streetlights. You need to pay for whatever you want." See what's happened. So, and that's happened on two occasions.
Oh, really? And we had signed off on it previously.
Yeah.
So are you saying, so do we need to be asking that question every time?
That's right. And I'm bringing that up. You know, that's why, what that has to do with lighting and taking over, but that's a big deal, because if it's our code and our standards, then we want to make sure that's getting enforced. If you're taking it all over, we need to make sure what your standards are going to match up with what we're seeing in the vision for the city as well.
Well, I guess some decisions need to be made as to what direction you want to go, and then let's talk and say, yeah, we're going to start maintaining all these. You know, it just depends on what direction you want to go. But let's, like I said before, I think local communication would be important here to determine, you know, how we support you. And if we need to have it on our checklist before anything's signed off, will or will not be streetlights. And if there will be, and we are maintaining,
if they're yours,
yeah, then they'll need to meet our standards. So I think that's something that needs to work through again on a local basis and make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that was kind of what the conversation we wanted to get started tonight, and then talking to Kelly, and what we're wondering is the council would like to see this, and they can compare comparison, they can send us some comparison. They don't have to. So that's something we can get on.
so my opinion is I would absolutely do it. I know that we explored this once before, but there was a lot of unknowns, and we're not staffed to maintain the power. Like, we probably need to really look at having Rocky Mountain take everything and then identify what the cost is to finish up what isn't theirs now.
Bring up to their standard.
Well, and then we need to make sure our standards
Match there.
match. Yeah, so I think we should go down that path and have some more meetings to get together. That's obviously just my opinion.
No, that's where I'm leaning to. Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your time.
Let's keep communicating. You have my card.
Yep.
Mayor. Afton has my card. So Rustin's fantastic. We're here locally, and so we'll get Kelly involved as well and just make sure we're giving you support. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's move to our next item, which is a discussion only item, discussion on Nephi's Twist. I think this is a request, Mr. Peart at our last meeting. Let's give an update on where we are on that.
Mr. Williams.
Or was it Mr. Lynn?
That made the request.
You want me to give
Kind
kind of a history on that, Mayor?
Second, yeah. He did also.
Yeah.
Okay.
To have a discussion.
Well, I can I can kind of walk through where we're
Yeah,
today.
let's do it, yeah.
So, not the dates matter because I can't remember them anyways, but initially what started this, so we're all clear, is we had a bunch of debris, we had illegal activity happening. You'd go up the road to the tank through Trail Ridge and you dive off to the left. People were dumping trash. They had cockfights. They had all kinds of stuff. Sheriff's Department was being called out often. And so the city reached out to the developer, to Jordan. That's not Jordan. The developer. Anyways, and we talked Jackson Ring, and we talked about putting up a gate on that road because it was a huge road and trying to make it so we could stop people from going up there easily and dumping. So we did that. Well, then the traffic moved and went down to the bottom. And then at the same time, the water district came in and did a project, and it cleared off all that ground at the end of that road, made it super wide, nice dirt field. Then we had campers and RVs and everything parking down there just out of the subdivision. And then using that as a trailhead to go up Nephi's Twist. So the developer on their own accord went in and gated that off and shut it down. And that cut off access to Nephi's Twist really since whenever that date was. And it's been whatever the time was. So I believe we asked Heath, we sent a letter at that point demanding it to be open. Their attorney responded, and it seemed like it kind of stalled out there, like we weren't going to get anywhere. And the decision of the council was, well, at some point, they're going to need to move forward. Part of their development agreement talks about open trails and identified these trailheads. And we that would be our opportunity to say, hey, let's fix this problem. Well, they came in for a plan approval, a preliminary plat 2 years ago, or a year ago, and it was denied, came at planning, or I don't remember.
Wasn't denied.
It was shut down at planning commission, or at city council.
Yeah.
It was
And
not denied, it was told that that would be.
needed to,
Condition.
yes,
They would do their application.
but through their application, it stalled out. Well, now we've had citizens come and say, hey, we need to get that opened up. I think, Heath, that's where we need to have your input on what we need to do there.
So the direction that I have for the council is that I believe that road or that trail is it is considered under Utah's 10-year use statute to be a road or right of way, which includes pedestrian and bicycle and equestrian type uses. And under Utah law, if a road or right of way is used unrestricted for a period of 10 years or longer, it is deemed dedicated to the public for that use. Now, that being said, that's what the statute says. How do you adjudicate that? And what I've explained is we would need to go and initiate a quiet title action and ask the court to make that formal determination that that is an open public trail and that it can't be blocked, and that they be permanently joined from doing so. That would require the city to basically initiate an action and bring it against the developer and do that. I explained that takes time and resources, and at that point in time, the previous council decided, like what Ty said, that they would probably hold off, and just when the developer would need to come in for another phase or another approval, that we would condition approval on them clearly dedicating that, and so that they couldn't restrict it, and that they would open up everything. They've kind of pushed back on that, and they're keeping with their position. They don't want it. They think that that they say that it is. They're looking out for the best interest of the residents there, trail ridge, they're trying to keep from dumping and camping and things like that. They don't think that it is a dedicated, that it has been dedicated by, public or prescriptive use. And that's something that we need to look at.
One of the things that as we've been discussing this, there's a difference between Nephi's with the trailhead, right, which is down off of the end of the asphalt, and there is private property, right, and I think that's probably their largest contention is they fenced off right at the end of the asphalt because it's private property down to where the trail starts. So in the future, that road goes down and ties in, but right now, how does that play into what's going on? Do they have to give access through private property to access?
No,
public trail?
and that's a fantastic question. If in fact and I tried to drive up there and get a better look at it myself at one point in time, and I think that I understood, but if we can't ask a judge to adjudicate under the 10-year use statute, anything that which wasn't historically used. So we can't a judge is not going to realign and show it coming up through private property when it's never historically done that.
So there was a utility easement that's quite old that went through there, Washington County Water Utility District, but it is, I think it's just a utility easement that was used as access to get down to the bottom of that. So we probably ought to do a little research and make sure, I wouldn't want to go down that path and spend a bunch of money to find out we missed something.
Well, and us getting a determination that as to on a portion of their property, there is a trail that's been historically used, that would be only so beneficial if they won't block it on their private property that was never historically used. Does that make sense? And I want to make sure that I understand what you're telling me there. Maybe I'm visually, we ought to look at that. But if you're telling me they're to get to the trailhead and that trail, as it's been historically used, you have to go through private property, then we're probably stuck with sitting and waiting for the developer to.
I don't know, maybe what we have to do is after council, if you have time, I know that to kind of show you what I think it is. But that, I mean, I'm not arguing the point, our citizens, but that trail has been used, I moved here in 2000 and we used that trail from that time on. And it had been well established before that. Where my concern would be is the access to it, was it actually illegal access through that private property? That I don't know the answer to.
Well, the whole concept of that is always going to be across private property. If the use by public is across public property land, then it's already there. So yes, this 10-year use statute is a way. It's almost like a taking, but without having to pay compensation. It's like legal concept of adverse possession or restricted use. It's a way that the public. I would tell you, 2/3 of our dirt roads in central and southern Utah are not dedicated roads. They are roads that have been dedicated by public use. The Burr Trail litigation that we're probably not familiar with, that was litigation of Utah's 10-year use statute.
So then, if the developer's still developing, right, and when they come in with their next application, the position's the same, but
Well, I guess the problem would be, how long could they leave it shut, right? Before it goes forward.
I got the impression that they may intend, well, there's not.
once we've written the demand letter, then it's,
We have told that. I don't think that any use continuous for 10 years in the history of that time can deem it dedicated, and it doesn't revert back, and then blocking it at some point in time in a later date, that does not. So it could have been used continuously for 12 years in the 1940s, and it's still a public trail. If you can prove that for certainty to a judge.
Well, Mayor and council, I mean, we've had requests for this, not just once, it's been multiple times. I wonder if we should maybe go down the path a little bit further and just waiting to see when they come back in.
Yeah, the developer's holding pretty firm, and I even get the impression that it may make that the very last area that it will develop, to hold that off at the very least. And they're gonna probably argue that that is an unfair exaction. If they come in for a phase over here and they say, you gotta open up this trail over here, and they say, what's the connection between the two? But, we're gonna do it.
that's what's in the agreement.
But that's the problem. So the agreement, I believe, the original agreement says they're supposed to keep all those trails open. So whether they're developing by the trailhead or way over here, it doesn't matter. This is by their agreement.
There was a development agreement, there was a picture, a diagram of the entire development.
With the
schematic.
trail.
It showed trails, and it showed Nephi's Twist Trail.
That's the way I remember it.
So then what do we want to do from here? What's the next move? Well, I
It
guess.
says discuss only, so can we make a decision tonight? I don't wanna.
No,
This is just a discussion on kind of what we want to do.
Well, but I think the discussion would be, does the council want to start moving forward?
I would,
Right? And if we want to move forward or if we want to wait. If we want to move forward, then we need to put it on the agenda to make most
I
steps.
even wondered whether there's some benefit to making this the project that trail starts up in the county, and they may have a vested interest in some, maybe assisting with the quiet
I
title.
can talk to, with Mr. Iverson, if you'd like.
Right where we went, so.
He seems like the one who takes up causes.
Yes, he does.
okay, anything else you want to discuss on this one? We good?
So should we have a report on it for next time we meet? Would that give you 2 weeks
Oh, yeah,
adjustment
I-
time?
I'll call.
Then maybe we can make a decision based
Yeah,
on
the
what we
county's
get
like,
from.
yeah, we're totally open, we'll co-fund or we'll spearhead you be a party to it and stuff like that, then yeah.
Well, then let's put it on the agenda for 2 weeks.
Because right now we have a
Yeah.
very popular trail. that is
Well, and I mean, there's another side of that, which is you can still access it from the top. Well, now they're coming down, crossing the creek, going into other private property, and then coming back up. I mean, it's made another issue down there. They haven't just stopped. So,
Let's go for it.
All right, let's go on our next item, number 3, discussion of possible action on the city council policy and procedure manual. Who's going to lead this discussion out? After the,
So, yeah, I mean, we talked about it last time, we went through it, and Gary, wanted to make on it, mostly on the.
A flow chart.
Remind me why I didn't flow chart, was what we really wanted on the organizational chart, we talked about that, so.
are you comfortable with it where it is now? I am. So if that's the case, we've gone over it. I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we go ahead and approve the city council policy listed on business, item number D3.
We have a motion, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Okay, let's go now to item number 4, discussion possible action on a resolution regarding the natural hazard mitigation plan.
sounds like it happened.
So this is one that came up here, we put this, before you guys first do the resolution, but the plan was included in that. So we, put that on the agenda for that, it's been reviewed by the both the ordinance and this is a natural hazard mitigation plan that is, it's done by White County, it's not done by Riverville, it's done as part of White County Association of Governments Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. That does identify and call out certain hazards we have here, like drought, flooding, erosion, collapsible soil. It calls out all those types of things and pulls records from 75 county and natural hazards and other things we told you was, own records of flood, things like that. And then what this allows us to do is apply for funding, either with White County or other agencies if we need to. And so Gary read through it, he had, and obviously Gary, was only bringing feedback, he went through it, and then also went through the ordinance to adopt it. But, Gary, you said you had other changes that you were curious about.
Yeah. I think a lot of this was cut and paste from another city.
Yeah, it's said for the whole county.
Page 5,
Yeah.
the word hurricane should be replaced with Tocqueville. Restaurants are listed saying that that's our business in Tocqueville when it's not.
Yeah, this includes, and there's some, references to Springdale, they'll look
Right.
and take out. the-
Right.
Yeah,
And Virgin River on page 5 to 12 and 31.
yeah, I got 31 now.
Okay.
All right, so with those changes, are we ready for a motion?
So are we approving the ordinance and the plan at the same time?
It was the ordinance.
It's a resolution.
Adopting
Adopting the plan.
Okay. So it's not an ordinance change, it's resolution, we're adopting the plan. Okay.
So it's our plan, it's our plan or our policy.
Perfect. That's what I thought, I just want to make it. Yep. There's none.
Let's make a motion then.
I move that we go ahead and approve item number D4, resolution for the 2022 Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
We have a motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's go to item number D6. This is discussion and possible action on a resolution for the Constitution Week proclamation. I think you all have seen that.
Yeah, we've done this year after year, I believe.
Yeah, that was your resolution.
Yep. So do we can approve it now and then not have to have them give us a speech in September, or? All right, I'm just trying to shorten the meeting.
Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, let's go to item B6. Discussion and possible action on the Tocqueville Secondary Water System Assessment with expenditures up to $10,000. We reviewed this back before. I think we're ready to go forward. I just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with it. And
And there's like a few months, if you didn't make a motion, go do that or whatever, if it passes. We're wondering also, just because really now. That expenditure, we're wondering if council wants to pull that from the regular water system, or wants to pull from the ARPA funds, since it's studying the water.
Oh, let's use the ARPA funds for it. It is
Yeah, that
10,000, it's not to exceed 10,000. We're sharing the cost with the water district. So hopefully it comes in at like 5,000, but I haven't seen an estimate yet. So let's use the ARPA funds.
The study and assessment, what is it? It is assessing the extent of the system and its value, or?
So extent of the system, value, life expectancy lapse, and cost replacement, depreciation. It's trying to get all the pieces of the puzzle put together so that we can make, as we move forward with taking over the TSWS system in whatever form that comes into, this is to give us information with that.
I motion that we approve item D6 and not to exceed $10,000.
Second, the mayor motion. The motion, mayor.
We have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mayor, you need to do a roll
Yeah,
call.
roll calls, 10 grand.
Oh, it said not to exceed 10,000, right?
It's still, it's expenditure funds, let's do roll.
All right, let's do roll call, starting here with Councilman James.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, let's go to item now, number D7, discussion of possible action on the Tooker Reservoir MOU with Washington County Water Conservancy District.
So the district will come along, we have to be table for the supporting documents because, well, not obviously, but the water district was gonna come and present this, training is gonna be here to present it to us, so. we can put it on the next.
So this is the one we've looked at and they keep changing, they keep
Yeah,
modifying.
this is the MOU, I mean, obviously, we discussed it, but, they do want to have to take actions for the south end. This is for, obviously, the field and land, water conservancy, water in the reservoir, but we're gonna manage the campground at the south end. They're gonna construct it, we have to put in infrastructure, we've been setting aside funds for years now, year over year, that's part of the agreement after like 2016. You know, the group will start putting aside funds at the time that they're ready to construct it. It's out to bid right now, they're ready to move forward with us and funding requirements.
We're not funding the improvements, we're funding any infrastructure.
Yeah,
We're
For
funding
our
the
management,
infrastructure.
for our management or for the campground.
So on the campground, and the MOU has taken many forms, but they're going to develop everything inside the campground, but it starts the property line. So on Old Highway 91, we're gonna need to run a sewer line and a water line to tie that together. But that's all part of what needs to be addressed and agreed to on the MOU. The mayor has been working on that pretty diligently. I actually thought we'd got it done, but it's, obviously it's not.
We did an early version. We got that done, but then they're wanting to make changes to that.
Yeah.
So we did a very early
So did
one.
we sign one?
The changes that they're wanting to make are things that are specifying exactly. It said, so the old one, it said, and that's how training is still presented. In the old one, it said, Otoka will be responsible for any, infrastructure. And this one specifies, like, no, it will only be the sewer, it will only be the water. So it just got one of these things. As far as it clarified what Toka will actually be responsible for. So he was gonna present that, so we can do that next, we'll have that at one.
Mayor, I motion we table this item and put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion second to table the item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, before we go on, I would, and I've looked at Keith, I'd like to have Councilman Bringers give us a brief report, show us a video, but it's just a report on the bypass road. Is there any problem with them giving a report, even though it's not mentioned here on the agenda?
You're the chair of the meeting, you can make that decision, and again, it's no different than a discussion item if it's brought up.
And let's have a,
Okay. So
let's have a
council,
brief report.
so while Daisy's prepping, council, this, I was in a meeting on Monday and Firelight had flown the parkway with the drone about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. The quality is fantastic. It's actually awesome to watch. So they sent me the link. I provided that to Daisy. I sent it to her today, and we were a little hesitant to put it on the agenda. We just didn't know if we could. So she had it ready to go, I think, now Monday.
More informational than anything.
Yep.
We have this for our website.
Let me, I will take their word.
They give you permission.
Yeah, I'll verify.
So you're talking quality of the video is good or quality of the road?
Both.
Okay, I was just checking.
I don't think so.
I would have.
So Daisy, if you pause it right there, can you pause it? So council, you can see they've cut the borrow ditches. The gray material in the middle is the, not base. There's granular borrow. So there's 18 inches of granular borrow, so base still goes on the top. That's part of the roadway section. So basically from the north end, there, I think you can go down a little bit further. Daisy, sorry, I just want to make sure you guys knew what was going on there. Detention pond on the left, they've been shaped, cleaned up, and the pipe beams ran in and out of it. It's turned out excellent. It's just taking longer than should. So that's the largest section right there that they have granular borrow on. So the next step for that is road base and then pavement. And you see right there the transition lines. So now they're back on subgrade.
This is a video, this is all buried now, this underpass.
So this is a
Yeah.
pedestrian crossing,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
that's
all backfilled.
I wonder whether it's gonna turn or we can just jump that. It's looking like it's going pretty fast.
Just trying to get speed built up. So this one is the Flume Wash crossing. It's not done yet. You can see they've got most of it built up, but they're pouring the deck and the last of the side on the pedestrian side, which is on the south side. They're scheduled to pour that next week. So that'll be done. They're doing rebar inspections this week.
Is that the last?
That's the
Major
last
pour.
one. Big pour. Well, major. They still have to pour the wing walls, but this is the last big pour.
It's the upper road.
So you pause it right there, Daisy.
Back it up maybe.
And then reverse. So the upper road is not really a road. When they cut in the access to get in, they cut that road. If you drive that now, you'll see that we've started to create the slopes. So it's almost gone. So there's a bench in there, but definitely looks like there's a road there right now because they used it as that at the beginning, but now it's almost gone.
How's the utilities doing? Are they,
Daisy, can you pause that real quick right there? So, Matt's here. Matt, what, I heard talk that they were gonna connect right there at that road on the bottom of the screen there, going into talking about where they got the Pond Hill Road. But that was gonna be one of the first roads. Is that accurate or is that coming from, is that not accurate? I don't know.
I think our first connection will be Westfield,
Westfield?
and then Pondale's soon thereafter.
Okay.
But it's pretty close. I think it's kind of under the engineering side and cost estimates that we gotta figure out on the Pondale side.
Well, Westhill's actually designed now.
Yeah, it is.
Westhill's ready to
How
go.
is Old Church? Is that in the fourth thought or is that
Church
down the road?
has another private property owner, the
Right,
walls
walls.
that need to come. So as they build that up, it'll connect to Simple. And I don't think there's any plan on fire lights.
Okay.
So connect it right away.
I would-
So, Gary, I think you asked about utilities,
I did.
or Justin, if they're done with utilities, by May of next year, after this job. So they're just,
Have they
it's
started
hard.
blasting at all? Have they?
They had a blasting proposal come in, they brought in 2 more hammers, and they brought in a bigger track on the delivers tomorrow. So they're trying a little bit of everything. There's, no matter what, they can't, where they're in the rock right now, they can't shoot,
Can't blast.
because they already started laying pipe.
Right.
So they gotta skip so many feet, so, but they're a little optimistic they might get out of that, and if they, because no matter what, they can't shoot that section now, so they haven't committed to shooting it at this time.
Okay.
So, more equipment's coming.
How quickly are they laying, how many linear feet?
Today, 18.325
Feet a day?
today.
18 feet today. 18 feet.
They got 1 stick in today.
One stick of pipe in the ground.
That, at that rate, we're talking 6-7 years.
Today was a very, very bad day. But in all fairness, they've changed some stuff up. So they started pre-digging. So they've got a big hole and they're digging and then having the pipe crews do other work. So they're making some changes that should have been made, no excuses, they should have been made months ago, but now they're doing them and we'll see. I'm just saying that it's not the same methods that we see typically.
Yeah, that's somewhat concerning.
Yeah, they're definitely, we've already started conversations about liquidated damages, timeframes. We've been trying to be very proactive about making sure those conversations are being had and there's not like this secret coming at the end. So obviously that's our water tank, so you guys know where we're at, and then down into the racetrack. And this section right here has actually got granular borrow on it now, all the way through there. That big pile right there that you see on the right where the truck is, that's road base, that's stage to go back on top of the granular borrow.
So this section, all the utilities are in, or they put them in there?
All the utilities are not in there yet. They're working towards that. Part of that is the sewer manholes.
Right.
The sewer line comes up through there, so there's a fair amount of stuff they're waiting on. They start getting manholes delivered this week. I think they get 3 this week and then 3 next week, and then they start showing up a little bit more consistently. And then some crazy if you can pause it like right there. So if you've been out there, this is the crushing operation. So they're taking on the top of the screen, you can see the slopes coming in, and the road on the top of the screen is to grade, and there's basically a ridge, a mountain coming right through the middle of it. So they're mining that aggregate out and then crushing it on the right-hand side, and then using that for the project. So you'll see that the truck's going to go out and around, and that's the same same route the camera will take.
Is that another pond that they put in there? for
Just
water?
just to stop it from running down in.
Oh, they're not using that. as-
It's temporary. Yeah. You go ahead, David. Thank you. Probably stop right there. So you can see the hill, that road that's notched into the hill, not our road, but the secondary hill road right there. So when they lay the water lines through Shangri-La and go up the hill, they're not gonna have access down below. So their construction access and the access for the residents that are in Shangri-La are gonna be to come across the road, come up the parkway, and then take that road that's cut in, come into Westfields. They've road based that road and made it actually really nice. If you go down there, they've done a great job making it so you can traverse it in a car.
So is the water line gonna come up that road then?
It is.
Okay.
Not the little one that turns to the right. It comes right up the park.
Like the parkway.
Yes.
So the access then from,
For like Olson's and Litchfields, Camara.
and we're talking about the one that's about
Lene.
the top third of the screen up there, right?
Yeah.
That's the road they'll turn. So will that tee in then to,
It goes away in the future. This is all temporary.
that's a temporary
So
access?
that road was there as like a little ATV trail, and they asked for permission to go in there and make it a little bit nicer. When they go up the hill, they're budgeting like 2 weeks to get up that hill, and we need to provide access for the citizens down in there to have a way out.
Oh,
So
I
they'll
see.
be able to go out.
Yeah.
They're gonna open the road up every night, but during the day, if they needed to get out, if we had some type of emergency, you had no way to get them in without
I see.
making some adjustments.
So Westfield's gonna come and tie in basically right here.
Further, actually, you need to go,
This is backed up a little
Daisy,
bit.
if you back up, sorry, you're driving the drone now. That's right, a little bit further. So more. So see where the road on the left is? It ties in about halfway between the road that is defined right in front of the pond and that road that's the old ditch line.
Okay.
So it comes around there and loops in and ties in. You can actually go out there and see a state for it.
And
But it's
that'll
in
be
that
a
range.
T.
That is a T intersection right there. And actually, that's not a T, that's a four-way intersection. Access to Westville,
Through.
and it goes across and continues on the other direction. That's why I got.
So how's this, the single home on the hill up there? they
Off
had to
that
re-
new intersection.
Okay, and they're moving their water lines, they're doing,
All done.
it's all done.
Yeah, so they're temporarily hooked up now. Once our water line's in and chlorinated and tested, they'll be hooked up to the new water system and be running off of that. Okay, thanks, Stephen.
Wow. They got the road
So-
hooked up and everything.
Yeah, so you can see, if you pause it right there, so you can see they've got the edges of the dirt that's built up like that intentionally. That's where the granular borrow sits inside. So you can see the defined edges of it. And that's the end of their schedule. So that dirt right there is into Schedule A, and then Schedule B ties on there and runs through the hill.
And we're bidding that out.
The 404. As soon as, so
permit should be for this week.
Afton was doing a little bird dogging to find out where our permit was. So as soon as we have the permit in our hand,
Permit from Army Corps or?
Army Corps.
Here's where we are. I'm going to type things in once you have it. I'm sure you-
Okay.
So we're gonna advertise for 2 weeks, but we need to just nail that down. But we didn't want to do it until we had the permit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So anyways, that's really the end. The drone continues to fly kind of through where it goes, but just so, I thought that was a great video and gave a pretty good perspective of where the road was at. How it was
I'd
looking.
like to see if it can be a well over, it's gonna go over.
So you can pause right there, Daisy. So all these slopes, these are basically done. So when you drive through there and you see these cut slopes, this is what they'll look like in completion.
So how wide is the bottom? This is just 2 lane.
That's just 2 lanes, so it's about 80 feet wide. So
When we come back and do the other 2 lanes.
that's when the rest of it comes out.
And it's all on the south side, right?
Yeah, we're building the southbound lanes.
Oh, we're building this up.
Yeah,
So
we're
it's
building
gonna
It's gonna go
on
to
the
the north.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
When it's finished.
Well, pause. I told you, Seth, we're building northbound lanes. Sorry, I'm like waiting, looking at this like, no. I'm on the wrong one. We're building northbound lanes, so it goes on the other
Or
side.
West
Okay.
side, you're building
Yes.
east.
East side.
Are they supposed to give you that house in there? Or
So the house on the left,
will stay?
so Daisy, if you go forward a little bit. So the barn on the right,
What's it
the
called?
first structure goes away.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at some little retaining walls to save the big barn. But the metal building that the helicopter's in, it stays. The little building that's just to the right of it, that one goes away.
Okay.
And the road kind of goes right through there.
Okay.
And continue on. Yeah, so they're drifting, they're drifting to the right.
Yeah.
It stays a little
Too
bit.
far.
further
There they
down.
go, back over.
Anyways, thank you, Daisy.
Yes, that was, I'm glad you showed that. Thank you. All right. Calendar of events, we have the farmer's market coming up and then a sod lane party, although we don't have time, we'll bring this up later.
That's going to be pushed back a little bit. We're waiting on the materials.
Okay.
I just want to bring
Yeah, we're getting it.
turkey trot. We're working on that. So I just wanted to, that's not on there, but we're working on that.
Hey. Can we have the turkey trot along the road? That might be a lot of fun. Because it's all dirt and it might be,
That's
Well,
on a what day is that?
So this will be on
On
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving.
and it's known, so this will be their 18th year. And it's known as a trails run, but I'm working with
okay.
Mr. Fabulous
Mr. T.
down there.
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
and for a completion run, we'd love to do a huge
Big party.
run.
If you want the
Yeah.
parkway, we can make a parkway happen.
Burning.
So start ahead.
Barn burning, okay. Well, thank you. All right, so we do need to go into closed session, so at this time, we have a motion.
I make a motion that we go into a closed section for discussion of purchase, exchange, or lease of real property.
I would second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you being here.